Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ridin the Storm Out. I am Pastor Paul Blair, and alongside me is, who are you? It's been a while since you've been here.
King as I am here,
King
buddy.
as I am, along
Dan
with
Fisher.
Paul Dan Fisher. We work together here at Fairview Baptist Church, and of course, Ridin the Storm Out is our effort to provide a biblical viewpoint, a politically incorrect, biblically correct viewpoint of the things that we're seeing going on in the culture. And of course, what we're going to cover today is a word that I have heard so much over the last couple of years, and quite frankly, never heard it before or never used much, but equity versus equality. And there is a substantial difference. But right now, we have an administration that is pushing equity, racial equity. Well, understand, ladies and gentlemen, what equity means is that we all wind up with the exact same
outcomes.
Same outcomes. That's exactly right. Now, we are all supposed to be equal under the eyes of the law and under the eyes of God. And as MLK said, he looked forward to a day where people were judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. So while we all have freedom in America, well, quite frankly, we're never all even. I mean, I went to school. There were a lot of kids in our school that families had a lot more money than I did. And there were families in school that had less money. But you know what? We all had the same opportunities.
I'm brilliant. You're not.
But we all had the same
we're not the
opportunities.
Same.
Some people are taller. Some people are shorter. Some people are better looking. Some people are homelier. We have things we have to overcome. But we all have the same opportunities. But see, here's the thing.
That was not
equity.
fair.
Equity means, here's an example of what equity actually means. In the United States of America, if we're looking for racial equity, the population is about 13% African American.
Yeah.
So based upon equity, then everything should be 13% African American. So let's look at my former career, the National Football League. Right now, the National Football League is 70% African American. Now, if we applied equity there,
it would be
that'd be 13% African American. Now, they love to look at that when they look about owners of NFL football teams. Well, you know what? You can't help who owns an NFL football team.
No, it's not dictated by
I
government.
don't own any of them. You know, you got to have a couple of $1 billion before you can own a football team, and that scratches me out there.
Well, and by the way, Paul, there's a reason why
that's right.
there are so many black football players. They're better.
Athletes, absolutely.
They're just better.
No doubt.
Basketball, same way. They're just better.
And
who
every
cares?
coach wants to win. Every businessman wants to be successful. You don't make decisions based upon whether it's a male or a female or black or white or yellow or anything else. You make decisions based upon which team is going to be victorious and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which company is going to provide the better widget at the best price and make me rich.
Yep.
So, but now we are pushing this equity rather than equality. We all have opportunities. We all have freedom of religion. We all have freedom of speech. We all can go get an education if we want it or not. We all can go to work at a certain job or not. We all can work 60 or 70 hours a week or choose just to sit at home with our crack pipes like Hunter Biden. That works well with Hunter Biden. That's up to us, and the outcome is based upon our actions. So there's a difference between equity and equality.
Well, and there's a reason why. The reason, or at least one of the reasons why this is so important is because if you go to the very core foundation of what our republic is built on, it's the Declaration of Independence. That's where all the principles are stated. So Jefferson and his committee began with, all of us are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So there's where equality is established in our understanding of equality under the law. So everyone has equality when it comes to how the law treats us, right? The reason why that is so important is because if we begin to substitute for equality equity, then all of a sudden we're trying to guarantee not equality under the law, but the same outcome, equity, in that I'm going to get the same thing you're going to get if we try the same thing together. And there's no way to do that. There is no way for me to walk onto a football field and outblock a guy your size. I can't do it. Now, I can outthink you. That's an easy thing to do, but I can't outblock you. I mean, it's just nuts.
Right.
So I've played basketball with guys who are pretty good athletes. I was a fair athlete, but when I'm playing basketball against a guy that's 6'3", 6'5", 6'6", he's going to block my shot every time. Guess who I'm not going to block? Him. I mean, that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, when you have a political party such as the Democrats who are trying to push this idea that we ought to have equity under the law and that the Constitution or the Declaration guarantees equity, meaning outcome, then everybody gets a trophy. Now, what does that do if everybody gets a trophy and no one has to excel? No, there are no winners, there are no losers. Then what happens?
No reward, no motivation for hard work, no creation, no production.
Exactly.
Why go to work if I don't get paid for going to work? Why go to school for 8 years if I don't have the privilege of being a doctor and make an income that's proportionate to what I invested in my years of study?
And if I can convince people that the Declaration of Independence guarantees equal outcome, i.e. equity, then I can harness the government to make sure that happens. And that's what's been happening, certainly since the days of LBJ.
Right.
The whole idea of the new society and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? People think about this. I mean, of course, I had a pretty aggressive throat cancer 3 years ago. There was about 2 weeks that I was talking with people evaluating where I was going to go get treatment. And there were a number of good places. There were wonderful places in Oklahoma City. But obviously, MD Anderson in Houston has the strongest reputation. They have a track record history. And I went down there because I believe they had the best doctors. Because you don't get a do-over with cancer. It's you either survive or you don't. So I believe that they had the best doctors. I didn't care if they were black doctors or white doctors or yellow doctors or male doctors or purple doctors or women.
It didn't matter.
I just wanted the best doctors.
Yeah.
Now, when you go in for cancer treatment or when you go in to have a knee replacement, you want that doctor to be the best there is because he has worked hard to be successful.
And he may have the skills.
Yeah, exactly.
He just may have been born with a certain set of skills that other people don't have.
Some people have a steady hand. Some don't. So you don't want the guy that doesn't have the steady hand doing your eye surgery.
Yeah.
That's just common sense. But you don't want people to be promoted and rewarded. You don't want somebody we've got to pass everybody through school. We're going to pass them on to the next grade. Hey, Johnny doesn't know how to read. We're going to go ahead and give him his diploma because of equity. We want to make sure we have the right proportion of graduates. That doesn't do anyone any favors.
No.
So tell me, Dan, I know you're thinking about this. So what is our brilliant imposter in chief's strategy for equity racial equity?
So here's how equity works, and this is the outgrowth of this whole fallacy of calling equality equity. So you and I would argue that everyone should get the same chance under the law for their rights. We're equal when it comes to our rights. But when we start talking about, I demand then equity to have whatever it is that I want, no matter what it is, and since I don't have the shot that you have,
whether
I ought to
I'm
get
good
special,
enough or whether I've earned it, whether I have the talent. No.
Yeah. So if I'm not doing well, then I ought to get special treatment. So here's an example: the Biden administration has just created a $30 million grant. Now, most folks have already heard about this, but this shows the idiocy of equity. Can you imagine what this $30 million grant is designed to do?
I'm scared to guess.
Well, listen, it's to provide pipe users who use drugs, who smoke crack cocaine.
Plumbers, pipe users. Is that this is a job?
Smoking a pipe.
Oh,
drug users.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know you never did
smoking
anything.
crack.
Yeah. Smoke crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, or any, and this is what the article says in quotations, any illicit substance. $30 million to provide druggies with crack pipes. Now, here's why they say we want to do this. We want to help those who live in underserved communities and this way we can advance racial equity.
Yeah, I was driving through Nichols Hills the other day, and they had free crack pipes on every corner.
Yeah.
The rich people get all the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's about time we provided it to the lower income neighborhoods.
Okay, so here's the deal. How in the world would you advance equity, even if you believed in it? Because cities like San Francisco and Seattle quit doing this long ago. Now, guess what their brilliant minds figured out? They have in recent years backed away from their smoking kit programs, which is what this is, a smoking kit, over concerns they enable drug use.
Duh. Do you think?
Yeah, by giving people crack pipes, they were induced to smoke crack. What idiots. Now, this is what happens, though, when you substitute words and you try to play word games and you start this equity thing. And that's what's been going on in America now for the past, I don't know how many years, but now we're really beginning to see the snowball effect of what it's doing to our culture. So here's your government, Paul, making sure that those in underserved communities have their fair shot at a crack pipe.
Let me say this. This goes to show you which party, and it may be some of both, but I will pinpoint the Democratic Party with their policies.
This is their
truly is racist.
Yes.
Now, basic economics, ladies and gentlemen. If you want less of something, you tax it heavily. Hence, you have sin taxes. I know here in our state, they've got like $3 or $4 a pack on cigarette smoking.
Right.
Because they're trying to get people to
stop smoking
cigarettes.
And start smoking a crack.
Yeah, start smoking. Yeah. And if you want more of something, you subsidize it. So maybe we take the taxes off of this, or we give some sort of subsidy to help you, or we give you crack pipes. Now, if you're giving crack pipes, what do you think the result is going to be? More crack users, don't you?
No. You're going to help people that have crack pipe collections.
We're going to have more medical doctors.
Well, crack pipe collections, people that collect these.
That's what it is.
You're helping them. They're building their collection. Think about it.
Think about why they provide so many Planned Parenthood clinics in minority neighborhoods. Is it because they really love the minority, or perhaps maybe they really don't? And they're just trying to con you that they're providing you a special service, when in reality, one statistic I read, and I should have documented it, so you have to check it out. But one statistic I read, that if it wasn't for abortion, about 1/3 of the American population would be African American right now.
Yeah.
Instead, it's 13%.
Well, because
so who is being affected by exactly?
Yeah, over half of the black pregnancies end in abortion.
And think of the brilliance of the Great Society. Where God established the home, sexual interaction between a male and female, God created. He created us male and female. It's supposed to be, it's holy, as God says, between a husband and wife.
Yep.
And God blesses you with children, and we raise our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Strong homes, a strong society. But if you want to make a weak, dependent society, then you've got to destroy the home. So in the Great Society, under LBJ, they start subsidizing. Again, if you want less of something, you tax it. If you want more of something, you subsidize it. So we tax people more. The more money they make, the more successful we are. We punish them for doing it. And we subsidize, for example, unwed mothers.
Yeah.
We're going to give you more benefits if you don't marry the baby's daddy than if you do marry the baby's daddy. And consequently, when we subsidize unwed mothers, we have more and more unwed mothers. And here we have subsidized.
And how do you sell it to the public? You convince them that equality is actually equity. This is why it is so important for people to know not only our history, but our founding documents, and just general truth and principle. We wouldn't fall for this stupidity.
Buddy, you know what? You think about this. Think of the connection here, the correlation here between education and freedom. During the Dark Ages, the Lords didn't want his subjects to be well educated.
Yeah.
He didn't want them to be able to read or anything. He just wanted them to be out there working on his behalf. When slavery was legal around the world, it was against the law to teach slaves how to read or anything else. Why? You wanted to keep them down and keep power over them. Now look at what we've done in education. And look at what we're doing right now. For example, people can't define and differentiate between the meaning of equality and equity.
Yeah.
So by dumbing down the populace, you're creating a populace that's more easy for you to control. And you want
exactly right.
equity. Look at any communist country. You've got equity. Everybody's equally starving to death.
Yeah.
There's that 1%.
Yeah.
That
everybody else has poverty in common.
Everybody else has poverty in common.
Yeah.
That's the direction they're taking the United States
Exactly
of America.
right. And I believe it's the failure of the church
Yep.
to teach these basic principles and to draw a line between left and right, light and darkness, right and wrong.
Yep, absolutely.
And so we've blurred the lines and we allow these what might seem to be a little thing. Well, equity, equality, isn't that the same? No, they're actually opposites of one another, and they will destroy a self-governing people built on the rule of law.
But you mentioning the church, that's so key. Think about it. You know, our church here, back in 1889, this was Fairview. It was called Old Jack Schoolhouse. And on Sundays, the school marm would teach Sunday school. Became a church and a school. Well, now we have 4 different homeschools facilitated here. But at one time, church is what facilitated education.
Exactly
of course,
right.
in America, we had a biblical worldview. And at one time, it was the church that birthed the hospitals and hospital
and
movement.
we honored marriage
Yep.
and the nuclear
Yep.
family
Yep.
and all those
Yep.
things.
Now we have the state that controls healthcare. We have the state that controls media. We have the state that controls education. And they're trying to sell us that equity is equality.
Yeah.
Well, to some degree, they're right. Like I said, under Marxism, we'll all be equally starving to
You know,
death.
you're right.
We'll be equal in our gulags.
Same outcome.
We'll all have the same gray jumpsuits, working in the salt mines every day.
Eating the same gruel,
It's eating the same gruel there.
riding the same mule.
That's exactly right. You have anything else you want to add?
I have nothing.
Well, that was how
That's
we
all
started
I've
the
got.
show. When we started the show, we had nothing.
Well, but we make it
At
up.
least we delivered.
These guys make it
We
up.
delivered what we promised them. We gave you
certainly did.
absolutely nothing. And if you want more of this, then you won't want to miss next week's edition of Riding the Storm Out. Brought to you by our producer, David Hannon, on behalf of my co-pastor and longtime dear friend, Dan Fisher, and myself, Paul Blair.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
You're going to promote the event
that's right.
in Arkansas?
That's right. Oh, that's right. We do have Liberty Pastors Training Camp coming
Football
up.
players.
I got hit in the head a
many
lot.
licks on the head.
Liberty Pastors Training Camp coming up in Little Rock, Arkansas, March the 6th through March the 9th. We teach 3 days, 20 at the Little Rock Marriott. It's a great time, a wonderful second honeymoon for a pastor and his wife. It's heavily subsidized. It's about by generous, successful Christian businessmen, incling our church
Who
that helps
chose
us,
to
who
give,
chose
or
to
not
give,
forced to
support
give.
this, because we believe this is an important ministry.
Yeah.
So what was normally be about a $1,200, $1,400 3-day getaway only costs you $199 if you're traveling by yourself, $249, Pastor, if you bring your wife. You have a wonderful second honeymoon, great fellowship and camaraderie with about 200 other pastors. You have a chance to meet and hear Mike Huckabee and his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And then Dan and I help lead the education, 20 hours of continuing education on a biblical worldview of the realm of civil government, which is kind of important right now, if you hadn't
Very
noticed,
important.
and a biblical worldview of economics and how to put it into practice
In your
as
church.
a
In your
modern
church.
black robe regiment pastor.
That's exactly right.
So we invite you to visit our website. You can go to fairviewbaptistedmond.org or go to libertypastors.com, and you can find all the information there. Also visit Declaration for Liberty, which has some great information about the Great Reset. So anything else you want to say?
That's it, man.
Well, we do hope to see you. Make sure
Yeah.
to tell your pastor about this. He needs to be in Little Rock. It'll be a great time. Again, have a chance
Send
to yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you love your pastor and you wish he'd be more engaged in cultural issues, well, help him. Help send him there. Give him a free vacation. It only costs you a couple $100
And if they don't like him, they might send him. He'll meet someone. He'll get called to a different church, and they got rid of the guy they didn't want.
So it's a no-lose. That's it. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Riding the Storm Out. And on behalf of Dan and David and myself, we look forward to seeing you next time.
See you again.
God bless you.